Everyone wants control, until life asks for proof. You plan your days like a god and panic like a child when one thing breaks. You don't lose control. You never had it. You only had the illusion of it, the comfort of thinking life would obey you if you just tried harder. That's why we suffer. We're not tired of life. We're tired of fighting it. Look around. The most anxious people you know aren't lazy. They're overmanaging everything. Their work, their partner, their image, even their memories. And yet the calmest ones aren't always the strongest. They're the ones who mastered themselves, not life. That's the real meaning of discipline. Not control, but alignment. Not domination, but direction. This is the journey. 10 Stoic principles to help you stand still while everything else moves. Because life was never testing your strength. It was testing your stillness. 1. When purpose becomes your North Star. You can wake up on time, answer every email, hit every deadline, and still feel like your life is standing still. I used to think busyness was purpose, and my calendar agreed. Turns out I was just decorating my confusion with productivity, because movement without direction is just noise that looks like progress. We confuse activity with purpose the same way we confuse noise with music, and most people spend half their life performing tasks that don't even belong to them. There was a man, let's call him Thomas. Every morning, he'd wake up before sunrise, make coffee, read the news, scroll through a dozen opinions that never changed his own. He went to work, came home. He spent 10 hours building spreadsheets he didn't care about, then spent 2 hours scrolling through comments on a social media post he didn't even write. His exhaustion was real, but it was purchased for the wrong master. He was never lazy, just lost in a cycle that rewarded exhaustion more than meaning. One evening, his daughter asked him, "Dad, what do you love most about what you do?" He didn't know what to say. He smiled. The kind of smile people use to hide an echo. Purpose is not a slogan you write on a wall. It's the quiet pulse beneath every choice you make. When you lose it, even victories feel empty. When you find it, even struggle feels sacred. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, remember that your purpose is to work as a human being." He didn't mean keep grinding. He meant remember who you are when you move. Because discipline without direction is just punishment in disguise. The world keeps telling you to do more. Stoicism whispers, do what matters. And what matters isn't always louder, but it's always lighter on the heart. Your purpose won't scream at you. It will wait patiently beneath the noise until you finally stop running long enough to listen. So tonight, before you sleep, write down 3 things that still make you feel alive. Not the things you're good at. The things that bring you peace when no one's watching. That's where discipline begins. Not in the schedule, but in the soul. Because a man without purpose doesn't need more time. He needs a reason to get up again tomorrow. What is the one thing that tricked you into confusing busyness with purpose? Comment one meaningless habit you will quit this week. Your honesty might help another person find their direction. 2. Stand on your own feet before you ask for a hand. We all say we want independence until we have to stand alone. It's easy to talk about strength when someone else is holding your balance. Some people don't need enemies. Their dependency destroys them first. Anna used to call everyone my rock. Her boyfriend, her friends, her therapist, even her favorite podcast host. She built her entire piece on other people's stability and couldn't understand why her world kept shaking. When someone didn't text back, she fell apart. When her boss frowned, she doubted her worth. When life was silent, she panicked, as if silence itself were rejection. One day, she said something that stayed with me. "I just wish someone would tell me what to do." I told her gently, "You don't need another voice. You need to hear your own." Because when you outsource your decisions, you also outsource your dignity. Every time you ask, What should I do? You're handing the steering wheel to someone who might not even know your road. Here's the paradox. The more you seek reassurance, the more fragile you become. And the moment you stop asking for permission, the world starts taking you seriously. Stoicism teaches, the man who depends on others for peace will always be at war with himself. Marcus Aurelius didn't write that line, but he lived it. He was surrounded by advisors, soldiers, servants. Yet every night, he wrote to his own mind, not theirs. That's what self-reliance is. Not isolation, but alignment with your own reason. So, stop rehearsing helplessness. Stop needing a committee to confirm your instinct. No one else is coming to lift you. They can lend a hand, but not a spine. And yes, you'll make mistakes. You'll fall. But falling on your own feet hurts less than collapsing on someone else's shoulder. If you stopped waiting for permission from others, what is the single boldest action you would finally take? Share it below. Because the world respects a voice that doesn't tremble waiting for approval. 3. Show up even when no one claps. We admire people who never miss, until we realize they only shoot when it's easy. There once was an archer, known across the land for his precision. On windless days, his arrows split other arrows. Crowds gathered just to watch the perfection. But one morning a storm arrived. The air roared, branches swayed, and his first arrow veered wildly off target. The people laughed. The archer's face flushed red. He shouted at the sky, "You ruined my aim!" An old monk watching nearby smiled and said, "The wind didn't ruin your aim. It revealed the truth that you were never aiming through the wind, only through comfort." The next day, the archer returned. He stood in the same storm, breathed with the wind instead of against it, and released another arrow. It landed closer than before, still imperfect, but earned. That's what discipline really is. Not mastering the calm, but staying steady in the storm. We all have our own wins: traffic, rejection, deadlines, heartbreak, noise. Maybe yours isn't outside. Maybe your wind is an old memory that still shakes your hands every time you try again. But even that wind can teach balance. If you stop fighting and start breathing with it, and every time we lose patience, we blame the weather, not the weakness within. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Don't hope that life becomes easier. Hope that you become equal to its challenges." Because stillness isn't built in quiet rooms. It's built where the wind screams the loudest. The strongest archers don't wait for calm skies. They learn to aim while the branches shake. And that's how you know you're growing. When life stops needing to behave for you to stay balanced. True discipline isn't control over life. It's grace within the gust. 4. Comfort is a sweet trap. You didn't lose discipline, you gained comfort. It starts quietly. A soft couch, a full stomach, a harmless scroll before bed. And suddenly, months pass, and you realize you've been resting for half a year. Comfort is clever. It doesn't destroy you with pain. It seduces you with pleasure, the good kind, the kind that feels deserved. We tell ourselves, "I've worked hard. I earned this break." And we have. But the break became the habit, and the habit became the life. I once had a friend who used to run every morning. Then one winter he said, "I'll wait till it's warmer." By spring, he was waiting for motivation. By summer, he was waiting for a sign. By autumn, he was still waiting. Comfort doesn't announce its arrival. It just slowly edits your standards until you no longer notice they're gone. And the cruel part? The world will applaud your comfort. Your friends will call it self-care. Your feed will call it balance. But deep down, you'll know it's decay wearing expensive pajamas. We've mastered the art of pampering ourselves into mediocrity. Gym memberships unused, unread books on mindfulness, half-finished dreams collecting digital dust. Stoicism teaches the opposite, that a soft life breeds a fragile mind. Seneca warned, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves comfort, who is poor." Because every luxury has a hidden tax. The more you rely on it, the weaker you become without it. Discipline isn't the enemy of peace. It's the architecture that holds it up. Without it, even joy collapses under its own weight. Once a week, do something mildly uncomfortable on purpose. Take the stairs, skip the elevator, wake up 10 minutes earlier than you need to. Not to prove strength, but to remind yourself you still have it. Because comfort is sweet, but like sugar, the more you taste it, the less you notice how it's ruining you. The Stoics called this soft slavery. You are not free if your peace is conditional on a soft life. Freedom is the readiness to face hardness. The Stoics didn't seek pain. They just refused to worship pleasure. And that's why they stayed free when the rest of the world sold their freedom for a softer pillow.
5. The only thing you control is how you return. You can't control who hurts you, who misunderstands you, or who walks away without explanation. But you can control what version of yourself comes back afterward. That's the difference between chaos and composure. Not how fast you react, but how wisely you return. Most people think strength is loud. They confuse reaction with power. They believe that shouting louder wins the argument, that replying faster wins the respect, that being right means being at peace, but the truth is quieter. Sometimes walking away from the noise isn't weakness, it's warfare. People say, I had to defend myself, but most of the time, what we're defending is our ego wearing a moral costume. True defense isn't noise. It's knowing what doesn't deserve your explanation. There was a man at a coffee shop one morning. He got cut off in line by someone too busy scrolling his phone. He sighed, stepped back, said nothing. The barista looked at him, surprised, and said, "You're not gonna say anything." He smiled. "I'm saving my energy for things that matter." That moment stayed with me, because peace isn't born from perfection, it's born from choosing your battles. The Stoics called this the dichotomy of control. You can't change the referee, but you can change your game. You can't control the crowd's noise, but you can control your shot selection. And here's what most people never realize. Even the worst day can't ruin you if you don't let it decide your response. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react that matters." We quote it so often that we forget how radical it is. He wasn't telling you to be calm. He was reminding you to be conscious. Because real discipline isn't holding your breath through pain. It's moving through it with awareness. You will be tested by traffic, by betrayal, by unfairness, by people who still live as if anger proves existence. When that happens, don't ask, "Why me?" Ask, "What version of me will handle this?" For one full day, don't rush to respond to discomfort. Don't correct, defend, or explain. Just observe how your mind moves. You'll see the space between stimulus and reaction is where peace hides. Every comeback doesn't need an audience. Some are meant only for your own evolution, because the world doesn't remember how quickly you reacted. It remembers how gracefully you return. 5 principles in, and maybe you've noticed something. Every lesson isn't about control. It's about release. Not fighting harder, but holding lighter. That's how self-discipline feels when it stops being punishment and starts becoming peace. 6. Forgive, not to excuse, but to exit. Forgiveness doesn't start holy, it starts human. Most people think forgiving is about them, the ones who hurt us. But real forgiveness is about reclaiming the space they still occupy in your head. There was a woman, let's call her Lena. Her father left when she was 10. Every success she ever had was secretly a revenge performance. Every compliment, proof she didn't need him. But revenge is a heavy stage to live on. One day she saw an old photo. her father holding her as a baby, both smiling, neither knowing the story ahead. And for the first time, she didn't feel anger. She just felt tired. That was forgiveness, not because he came back, but because she finally stopped rehearsing his absence. The Stoics said, "No one can injure you without your consent." They didn't mean the wound isn't real. They meant, stop letting it rent space in the home meant for peace. Forgiveness doesn't rewrite the past. It releases your future from its shadow. You can love someone from a distance, wish them well without reopening the door. Because peace doesn't always mean reunion. Sometimes it means release. Try this tonight. Write a name you still hold in resentment. Under it, write one lesson their pain taught you. Then whisper, "Thank you for the teaching. The class is over, tear the paper. Let it go." Forgiveness isn't saying it's fine. It's saying it's finished. Comment with the initial or first letter of the person or thing you are ready to finally release tonight. And that small shift is how you stop bleeding from wounds that no longer exist. 7. Patience is the art of not panicking. We refresh life the same way we refresh a web page, impatiently, repeatedly, and somehow surprised when nothing new appears. We're addicted to speed, fast results, fast answers, fast healing. If progress doesn't shout, we assume it's gone. But growth doesn't vanish when it goes quiet. It just stops performing for your approval. Patience isn't passive, it's preparation. We confuse waiting with wasting because we forgot how to stay still without feeling stuck. I used to open the delivery app 5 times right after placing an order, as if staring at the screen would make the food arrive faster. Then I realized, I treat my goals the same way. We do that with people too. We plant a seed of connection, then dig it up every day to check if it's growing. And when it doesn't, we blame the soil instead of our impatience. The Stoics knew that time is the greatest sculptor. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "No great thing is created suddenly." We must learn to distinguish between a delay and a denial. True patience is the discipline of continuous effort, trusting that the soil is working even when the seed is invisible. He didn't mean to surrender to slowness. He meant to trust it, because patience isn't about doing nothing. It's about doing without rushing. It's the space between effort and outcome where your future is quietly assembling itself. I once watched a father teach his son to tie his shoes. It took 20 minutes. The boy got frustrated. The father just smiled and said, "Take your time. Take your time. The knot will wait." And for a moment I thought, maybe life works the same way. Not everything delayed is denied. Some things just need you to stop shaking the clock. So next time something takes longer than you hoped, ask yourself, is it really taking too long, or are you just used to rushing your peace? Because panic doesn't make time move faster. It just makes your heart arrive before the moment does. Patience isn't slow. It's precise. It arrives exactly when it's supposed to, and so will you. 8. Turn down the noise before it turns you down. We live inside an orchestra that never stops playing, where everyone's opinion tries to play the loudest note, and somewhere, your own voice is trying to whisper through the static, but no one can hear it, not even you. Silence used to be natural. Now it feels like a luxury item, sold only to people who can afford peace. Most people don't wake up tired. They wake up overstimulated. Their minds didn't rest. They scrolled. I used to check my phone before my pulse, then wonder why my first emotion of the day was comparison. Because noise doesn't just surround you, it invades you. We're drowning in information, starving for insight. We mistake being informed for being aware, but wisdom has never been loud. It waits beneath the volume. We call it staying connected, but somehow we've never felt more alone while sharing everything. A friend once told me she listens to podcasts to fall asleep. I asked us why. She said, "Because silence makes me think too much." And that's the tragedy. We've become afraid of our own company. We now use noise as a shield against confronting our own unfinished thoughts. But the cost of this digital addiction is your greatest asset, the ability to think clearly. The Stoics called that fear by another name, dependence. If you can't sit in stillness without reaching for noise, you're not relaxing, you're escaping. As Epictetus taught, freedom begins where you master your attention. And attention today is the most stolen thing in the world. You don't have to mute the world forever. Just learn to lower the volume until you can hear yourself think. Because not every sound deserves your nervous system. Not every headline deserves your heartbeat. The quiet ones aren't out of touch. They're just in tune. 9. The candle and the storm. There was once a candle who envied the stars. They shine so bright, it said, I want the world to see me too. So one night when a great storm swept through the village, the candle saw its chance. The sky is dark, it whispered. Now everyone will notice my light. It burned harder, flickering wildly against the wind. But the storm roared louder, and soon it went out. Hours later, when the wind calmed, a lantern nearby said softly, You weren't too small. You just chose the wrong battle. Light isn't meant to fight the storm. It's meant to guide those who walk through it. Your purpose is not to defeat chaos. It is to be a fixed point of value in the chaos. Focus on what you can give, not what you can win. In life, we do the same, burning harder just to be noticed instead of useful. That's what Stoic discipline truly means. Not conquering chaos, but shining quietly inside it. We keep trying to prove our brightness by outshouting the world. But every flame that burns to impress eventually burns itself out. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, Be like the rock against which the waves break, and it stands still. But even a rock needs purpose. The candle's purpose wasn't resistance, it was presence. So when the world storms again, when arguments rage, when injustice howls, when people try to pull you into their weather, don't fight to be seen. Stay lit to be useful. Because maybe the real strength of light isn't how long it lasts, but how many people it helps see before it faded. Tomorrow, in one small way, be a light for someone lost in their own storm. A kind word, a patient silence, a gentle truth. You'll see, your calm will travel farther than your noise ever could. You don't have to outshine the storm. You just have to outlast it. 10. Become the example you're waiting for. Most people wait for someone else to go first. The leader, the mentor, the ideal version of who they could be, as if permission ever came from another human being. But what if the person you're waiting for is waiting for you? We talk about change like it's contagious, but no one wants to be the first carrier. Everyone wants a role model. No one wants to be one. I once met a man named Victor. He told me, I wish my son had a better father. I asked him, what if he could by meeting one inside you? He looked down, smiled slowly, and whispered, I never thought of that. That's the moment something shifts. When you stop seeking examples and start becoming them. Because the world doesn't need more advice. It needs living proof. Your colleagues don't need another quote. They need to see integrity. Your children don't need perfection. They need to see consistency. Your partner doesn't need promises. They need to feel peace when you walk in the room. The Stoics live by this. Virtue wasn't a lecture, it was a lifestyle. Marcus Aurelius wrote, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be the calmest person in chaos, the kindest in conflict, the most grounded in uncertainty, not for applause, but for alignment. Because every time you choose restraint over reaction, grace over ego, discipline over desire, you raise the standard for what humanity can look like. Don't underestimate the power of one steady soul. Entire families heal because one person refused to repeat the cycle. Entire workplaces shift because one person stopped gossiping. Entire generations change because one parent finally chose awareness over anger. That's the quiet revolution, the one that starts inside you. Stop searching for heroes. They were ordinary people who simply stopped waiting. Think of one trait you admire most in others: patience, honesty, kindness, and do it today without waiting for the world to deserve it. Because becoming the example isn't about status. It's about service, not to others, but to the highest version of yourself. You don't need to tell the world you have changed. The world will feel it in the way you show up. So when in doubt, when the noise returns, when discipline fades, remember this: you are the proof, not the audience. And if this message reached you at the right moment, maybe it's not just for you. Share it with one person who might need this calm tonight. Then stay a little longer, because what comes next is the quiet part most people never reach. If you've made it here, you've already done what most never do. You've stayed, not just through the video, but through every uncomfortable truth it carried. That's discipline too. The discipline to face yourself. You don't need to master all 10 Stoic principles tonight. You just need to remember one simple thing: you're not rebuilding a life. You're remembering how to live one. Maybe the world told you to be faster, stronger, louder, but all along, life just wanted you to be still enough to hear what it's been whispering: that you were never behind. You were simply being refined. The truth is, no one really starts over. We just start from now, a little wiser, a little quieter, a little less desperate to prove anything. And that's enough, because peace isn't found at the top of the mountain. It's found in the climb, in the quiet between trying and trusting, in the moments you choose to stay kind, even when it's easier not to. So here's your gift. When you close your eyes tonight, don't replay what went wrong. Replay what you survived, the strength that never made headlines, the quiet mornings you got up anyway. That's your proof, not the trophies, not the applause, just the fact that you're still here, trying, learning, returning. The Stoics call that virtue. Today, we just call it being human. If this journey found you at the right time, don't forget to pass it forward. Someone out there needs the calm you've earned. And when life gets loud again, come back here. The stillness will be waiting. If this message found you at the right time, comment "stillness" below to let me know you finished the journey. And share this with one person who might need this calm tonight. You already have everything you need. You just needed the quiet to remember.